Welcome, Kmart shoppers, to Geek Salad Retro Movie Reviews from the Geek Salad Podcast. I'm Andy.
And I'm Mike.
And tonight we close out our look at the Best Picture winners through the decades. Because we are recording this on February 29th, this is Leap Day. So we got an extra day in February, which means an extra day to talk about a Best Picture winner. We are going back to those halcyon days of the 1980s. And we are covering the winner for Best Picture of 1988, Rain Man.
Yeah.
So was this the first time you watched it?
Yeah, I'd seen like clips and bits and pieces, but this was the first time I actually watched the whole thing all the way through.
Yeah. Okay.
And I mean, Dustin Hoffman deserved the actor for best actor.
Yeah. We'll go over who he was up against.
But yeah, big thing I took away from this is Charlie, Tom Cruise's Charlie.
Yeah.
Is an asshole for 99% of the movie.
This was the Tom Cruise MO of this period of the 80s. If you go back and you look at some of his other, like his more serious dramatic movies, like The Color of Money, it's the same thing.
Yeah, I honestly, he doesn't get a likable trait until probably the last maybe 10 minutes of the movie.
And I'll get into that in a little bit because I think I have a very controversial, maybe not a hot take for you, but for others, it might be a hot take on the whole Charlie Babbitt character arc.
I think like if they had like made like shown like the consequences of him not paying off the debts more clearly, like you just got like bits and pieces. You never actually saw his debtors come to collect them. So if there's more of a threat there, then maybe it would explain away his dickishness a little bit more. But
well, the thing is that it came the resolution to that came so easily.
Yeah,
we won the money, paid off my debts.
They know we were cheating, but they let us keep the money, and we just have to leave right now.
Yeah. They don't have to leave right now. They have to leave in the morning. They got their room comped.
Yeah.
But, really?
And
all right. So I think that I don't feel like Charlie Babbitt actually ever is redeemed in this movie. I don't feel there's never that moment where he's like, he does realize the weight of everything. Because even after the whole thing with the toaster waffles, he's still fighting to keep his brother. And, he's still not seeing he doesn't really see the whole picture until he realizes that Ray doesn't know what Ray wants.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like, he kind of understands that, and he understands that he has to let go. But that's as close to an actual character arc as we get. I mean, he was already kind of a good boyfriend. I mean, he was short with Valeria Golino's character, whose name Susanna. Yeah, he was short with her.
When I saw her, I was like, I know I've seen her before. Where have I seen her before?
Hot Shots. Yep.
So she went from Tom Cruise to Charlie Sheen.
Yep. Is
that a upward move, downward move? That seemed kind of lateral to me.
Isn't that The Outsiders? I mean, so this is my take on this movie, is that this is the most 1980s movie to win a Best Picture Oscar in the 1980s.
I mean, I was thinking about when you said that, and so I looked it up. I'm like, well, yes, but like a lot of very few of the other 80s winners actually took place in the 80s.
Right. All right. Well, let's step back. Let's look at that. What movies take place kind of in that modern era? They're taking place in the now. Ordinary People.
That was 79.
Technically, but it's still released in the 80s. Nothing really changed that much. So you had Ordinary People. You had Terms of Endearment.
Which I've never seen.
Okay. Actually, it's not too bad. 45, 86, 87, 88, yeah, and then Rain Man, and then the year after was Driving Miss Daisy. Wasn't
there one where like it ends with a woman dying and giving her like kids to her mother.
Yes, that's terms of endearment.
Okay.
Give my daughter the shot.
Yeah. Okay.
It's very much a dramedy.
No.
From the comedic mind of James L. Brooks. I'm not kidding.
I believe you. I believe you.
Yeah, this one's a weird one because it's like I remember when this came out. I saw this in the theater. Like I had my driver's license and I was able to go see this movie in the theater. This movie held on to the cultural zeitgeist like really no other like high art best picture nominee at this time.
In fairness, though, it wasn't this movie that held on to the cultural zeitgeist. It was Dustin Hoffman's character that held on.
Right, exactly. And that was, I mean, Dana Carvey did an okay impression of him on SNL. It was the first time I had actually seen Ben Stiller on SNL, and he actually did just a slam dunk, spot on Tom Cruise.
Yeah, I've seen the Celebrity Jeopardy where he plays Tom Cruise, and yeah.
But they also it was the episode open. It's the cold open for SNL and Pete Rose. This is around the time of the Pete Rose scandal. Pete Rose was getting Raymond to pick games for him to bet on. This is around the time he got suspended for gambling on baseball.
So of course, let's make a joke about it on SNL.
Yeah, exactly. With Rain Man, and then the whole thing, he made more money with me counting cards. And then his doctor comes in and is like, I have made more money playing the stock market with Raymond.
That was actually kind of another thing is like pretty much all throughout the movie, they're like, wow, this guy can count really fast. I wonder what you can do with that. Wow, this guy, he can count all those toothpicks in one shot. I wonder what you can do with it. Like, and then an hour and a half later, he's like, hey, maybe I should do something with that.
Yeah, exactly. How can I exploit his one incredible talent?
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I mean, you're right. I think that Dustin Hoffman is this movie.
Yeah.
Runs away with this movie. And, when we get into what it was up against in 1988, I mean, I don't feel like I'll be like, oh, yeah, someone else should have won Best Actor that year because he runs away with it. Now, whether or not the strength of his own performance was enough to buoy everything across the finish line in the way that it did. It won 4 Oscars.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think it's a good movie. Is it an Oscar winner?
And that's the funny thing is that it feels like an Oscar winner in the way that, like, Disease of the Week movies at least get nominated for Best Actor. It doesn't help either that the very next year, Daniel Day-Lewis won his first Oscar for playing Christy Brown in My Left Foot.
And
where he played a paraplegic who could only move his left foot. He couldn't talk. He couldn't,
And Barry Levinson has such a weird career.
If you go back and you look at Barry Levinson's career, pre-Rain Man even, Diner, which is a fantastic movie. If you haven't seen Diner, it's a great time capsule of a movie. He did Good Morning Vietnam. He did Tin Men.
He did Young Sherlock Holmes, which I have a soft spot for.
Yeah, I haven't seen that movie in forever.
Yeah. He did The Natural, which is a great movie.
He did The Natural. I had mentioned Tin Men. Tin Men is Danny DeVito and Richard Dreyfuss. And it's one of his forgotten movies, but it was a pretty interesting movie. Did that man love Baltimore in the 1950s.
But yeah, I mean, like after Rain Man, he had Bugsy, and then it's like it is so up and down. Like when
Sphere.
Yeah, I did hear good things about Wag the Dog.
Yeah, well, that Wag the Dog is essentially Dustin Hoffman's excuse to play Robert Evans.
But yeah, I mean, really, Wag the Dog was his last like solid one. It seems like most of the rest are just awful after that.
Or he did TV. He did a lot. He's done a lot of TV.
Okay, that makes sense.
And we'll compare over what he had, who he was up against, after we kind of discuss the movie a little bit. Let's jump into the music real quick. This is Hans Zimmer's first Hollywood score.
All right. I mean, you know me, when I've just seen the movie for the first time, the score is never really something that stands out unless it's really like noticeable.
Yeah.
For this one, wasn't really one that stood out for me.
Okay. I mean, I hadn't seen the movie in over 20 years, so it still stood out to me because, I mentioned to you, it sounded like the extended opening of Steve Winwood's Don't You Know What the Night Can Do? I mean, if you really think about it, you compare the two, they sound very similar. And it's also funny, too, because this was around the time that, like, Hans Zimmer was getting his feet wet in Hollywood. So a lot of his scores were more synth-heavy than they ended up becoming. Because, in the last 15 years, it's all been the...
Yeah.
Or, and I was joking with somebody on Twitter about this, about how just, we both are in agreement of just how lackluster his second Oscar-winning score is. The score for Dune is kind of lackluster because I could have told you before the movie came out, before I heard one note of it, what it was going to sound like. It was going to be very Middle Eastern tinged, a lot of like that wailing in there, and lo and behold, that's what the score is.
Yeah, I'm just kind of trying to pull up his
filmography.
Yeah.
It's definitely a very versatile catalog that he's had. I don't know if I would ever go so far as to even put him in my top 5 favorite composers.
No, but when he does a good job, he does a great
job.
I mean, like, Backdraft is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Obviously, I absolutely adore his work with Lion King.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, geez, I didn't realize that he did Cool Runnings. Cool.
Oh yeah.
I love Cool Running.
Oh, I know you do. We had this conversation on our on our 93 podcast. Yeah, I mean, this movie is just interesting because it's a road. It's got all the elements of Oscar bait. It's a road movie. It's a journey to self-discovery. It's a disease of the week movie.
The only thing that would have made it any more Oscar bait would be if Ray died at the end.
Right, or Charlie has to give him his kidney or something.
Yeah.
The scenes between them, when Charlie wasn't being a complete selfish dick, were actually some of them were painful to watch because with Charlie just losing his patience, which is the majority of the movie. Again, he doesn't even begin that redemptive arc until much like the last 15 minutes of the movie.
Yeah. I think my favorite scene between those two was probably where when Charlie was teaching him how to dance.
Yeah, that was cute. I mean, for me, it was the hot water burn baby.
Well, yeah, I mean
that was really hard to watch,
and
it really it kind of like hammered that Charlie did have memories of him.
Can we also say that like having what's her name? What is it? Samantha?
Susanna,
having her come back was an odd choice, and especially since like giving her that really weird scene in the elevator. I
feel like that was to get Ray to interact with somebody else. I mean, you could have pretty much cut out that entire thing with the escort. You really could have. It was kind of, the whole, wet. That was kind. I mean, it was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Seeing him interact with a woman and a woman who genuinely liked him.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I like their character, but they just did some really weird things, like oh, we just kidnapped my brother. Let's have sex.
Yeah, with an open door
Yeah,
in the hotel.
Yeah, yeah. I also do love the fact that like in the first 15 minutes of the movie, every single character in the movie tells Charlie that he's a douchebag right to his face, and he
Yeah,
completely ignores it.
yeah. Well, again, that's the Tom Cruise MO of that time period. He had just come off of Top Gun. You know, he was doing. I mean, hell, Cocktail came out this very same year.
Oh yeah.
The How to Drink YouTube channel just did a whole bunch of atrocious 80s drinks, and they actually used his examples from Cocktail. Most of them are no good.
Ah, good to know.
They're all very, very sweet, and a lot of them are just very orangey.
I actually might like them then.
Yeah, a lot of Cointreau. A lot of Cointreau.
Well, then
All right, so let's break down the year of 1988 at the Oscars and see what it was up against in its winning categories.
All right.
This is a weird year too, because I really feel like this is one of the few years of the 80s where there were too many movies to nominate for Best Picture. This is back when they still had the 5. So there's a lot of splits, a lot of disparity between like Best Picture and Best Director. So
do you think if they had 10 entries in this one, Rain Man would have won?
That's a great question. Well, here's what it was up against, and you tell me whether or not you feel like it's held up better than some of these others. Okay, so Rain Man was the winner. It was up against The Accidental Tourist,
I know it.
Dangerous Liaisons,
I do know of that one.
Mississippi Burning,
Ooh.
and Working Girl.
What was that?
Mississippi Burning is about the 3 civil rights activists that are murdered in Mississippi, and they're investigating it. And then Working Girl.
That was it. Was
Melanie
that
Griffith?
Huh?
Melanie Griffith.
Oh, I was thinking of Ripley Million.
Are you thinking Gorillas in the Mist?
No, Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah.
Wasn't she in
She is in that, though.
Okay.
Sigourney Weaver is in that. I'll get to that in a second. So, I mean, if you look at these 5, I really... It's between this and Dangerous Liaisons, my opinion.
I honestly, I can't really say because I haven't seen any of the other movies.
Okay. Dangerous Liaisons is an excellent movie. But it's very much... It's a key Oscar bait. It's 18th century, lavish costumes.
I know you and I believe Catherine talked about it before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So director Barry Levinson wins Best Director. Now here's where it changes. Okay, because out of the Best Picture nominees, Alan Parker for Mississippi Burning and Mike Nichols for Working Girl, the only 2 other directors nominated for Best Director whose movies are nominated for Best Picture. In this instance, Charles Crichton for A Fish Called Wanda.
Ooh.
And Martin Scorsese for The Last Temptation of Christ are the other 2 nominees, which tells me that in a year of 10, Last Temptation of Christ and A Fish Called Wanda are in the Best Picture run.
Yeah, and honestly, I'd much prefer Fish Called Wanda over Rain Man.
Yeah, me too. Me too. It's more... I mean, it's the most Monty Python movie where you don't have the entire Python cast.
Yeah. You only have about half of them.
Right, right. So, actor. So, Dustin Hoffman was Best Actor. Okay? He was up against Gene Hackman for Mississippi Burning, Tom Hanks for Big,
Ooh.
Edward James Olmos for Stand and Deliver, and Max von Sydow for Pele the Conqueror. I still would say that, you know, with hindsight, Dustin Hoffman still wins this.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the only one of them that I've seen is, you know, Tom Hanks and Big, obviously. And he's really good in that. I'd still go with Dustin Hoffman.
Let's just move over to the other performing Oscars here because this was a 3-person show. It was really a 2-person show. Tom Cruise did not get a nomination at all for this movie. His first nomination will come the next year for Born on the 4th of July.
Yeah, I wouldn't have nominated him for this.
Yeah. So the winner in '88 was Jodie Foster for The Accused. And she was up against Glenn Close for Dangerous Liaisons, Melanie Griffith for Working Girl, Meryl Streep for A Cry in the Dark, and Sigourney Weaver for Gorillas in the Mist. I honestly, this was the one I would probably say, with the benefit of hindsight, this was the year you give it to Glenn Close. She's fantastic in the movie. She's devious, and it would have cut the losing streak early.
Yeah, I mean, Glenn Close she's amazing in almost everything she's been in. So
she is, but here's my issue, especially with Glenn Close movies. She's just never good enough. There's never been a performance of hers that I've been like, it's the best performance of the year. She'll be robbed if she doesn't get it. Now she's doing these movies where it's like she might get it because they owe her. But then you look at some of her last couple of films. Hillbilly Elegy. Nobody liked that movie, and she just kind of got it because she's playing a cranky old lady.
I've seen her in a few roles where it's pretty clear she's not giving it her all.
No.
But she's still fun.
No, she is. I it was fun to see her in Guardians.
Yeah.
So supporting actor that year, Kevin Kline won for A Fish Called Wanda.
Rightly so.
100% deserved.
Yeah.
Just like with Dustin Hoffman, I wouldn't change this. He was up against Alec Guinness for Little Dorrit, Martin Landau for Tucker, A Man in His Dreams, River Phoenix for Running on Empty, and Dean Stockwell for Married to the Mob. What an odd assortment of movies. First of all, none of these movies were nominated for Best Picture. Not one of them was nominated for Best Picture. So it was an odd assortment, especially, Martin Landau's Martin Landau. He would win 6 years from now.
For me, the weird outlier in that one is Dean Stockwell.
Yeah. He's the standout in Married to the Mob, but it's Married to the Mob.
Yeah. I love Dean Stockwell, but I've never seen him as an Academy Award winner.
Yeah, even nominee. But this was his. He was a standout in this movie, and hindsight. Jonathan Demme directed that movie, so. All right, and supporting actress, you had Geena Davis, who won for The Accidental Tourist, and I adore Geena Davis, so I'm happy with that. Other nominees: Joan Cusack for Working Girl. Frances McDormand for Mississippi Burning. This was her very first nomination.
Wow.
Michelle Pfeiffer for Dangerous Liaisons and Sigourney Weaver for Working Girl. This is a tough one because I love Geena Davis, but I also really enjoyed, out of the others, Michelle Pfeiffer and Sigourney Weaver.
So Sigourney Weaver was both Best Actress and Best Supporting Actress.
Yep.
Ooh.
Yeah, they took good care of her on the Ghostbusters 2 set because at this point she was a double nominee.
Oh, yeah. The only problem is when you're a double nominee like that, I think that usually kind of hurts your chances.
Unless you're, oh God, I can't think of her name. Unless you're Jessica Lange. She was nominated in 82 for both Best Actress and Supporting Actress, and she won Best Supporting Actress for Tootsie, rightfully so. All right. So here is where Rain Man gets his 4th Oscar.
Oh, screenplay, right?
Yeah, screenplay. Written directly for the screen. It was up against Big, Bull Durham, Fish Called Wanda, and Running on Empty. It's a good list. It's honestly, if I were going to give it to anybody, I would have probably given it to Cleese for A Fish Called Wanda because of how snappy it is. Big is just kind of lucky to be there. Bull Durham is that is the only thing it got nominated for. And while to me it's the greatest baseball movie ever written, the reward is in the nomination.
Yeah, as much as you say Big is just happy to be there, I thought that script was fantastic. I really did.
Yeah, rightfully so, but I think it's more the nomination than anything else.
Yeah.
Um,
Eat Against the Fish Called Wanda. Honestly, the script for this one, I wouldn't have even nominated it. Right, Rain Man.
it's not great. Again, this is why I would have gone with comedy over this one. I would have gone with The
Yeah.
Fish Called Wanda over this.
Oh, that's probably why it didn't win, because comedy. We can't give an Oscar to a comedy.
Which is interesting because Kevin Kline, won. I mean, again, rightfully so. And out of those 5 nominees, absolutely.
Yeah.
So just because we're on the subject here, adapted, Dangerous Liaisons won that year. It was up against The Accidental Tourist, Gorillas in the Mist, Little Dorrit, and The Unbearable Lightness of Being, which actually is a great movie that nobody has ever seen. So we can move on from there.
I've heard of it though. Isn't that based on like a play or something?
It's based on a book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was written and directed by Phil Kaufman, who is responsible for Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Let me see what else was Rain Man nominated for here. All right, so Rain Man was nominated for Best Score, losing to the Milagro Beanfield War, which is Dave Grusin.
Well, I mean, for Zimmer, one of his first attempts, and he gets nominated. That's not bad.
Yeah. Just going to see what else it was nominated for. I think that might be, at that point, everything else is all crafts. Because you know what movie we haven't even brought up yet that came out this year?
What's
Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Oh, well, yeah, that would have swept the technical awards.
It absolutely did. Yeah, I mean,
Rightly
it swept
so.
all the technical awards with the exception of a couple like the costume and stuff like that, which went to Dangerous Liaisons. Again, in a year of 10, I don't doubt that Roger Rabbit would have made that list.
And genuinely, I would have put Roger Rabbit over Rain Man.
I would have too. I would have also given it a screenplay.
Yeah,
Nomination.
just for how brilliant the movie was.
Right. But also consider, have you ever read the book Who Censored Roger Rabbit?
No, I've heard it's not
awful.
nearly as good.
It's awful. It's it's one of those movies where the book is, the book is just so much worse than the actual movie.
It's only happened twice for me before.
Okay.
Yeah, Jaws and the Lost World.
Okay.
Jurassic
Yep.
Park.
Jaws, Lost World. Even Jurassic Park, I think is a better movie than it is a book.
I like the book a lot. The second book is, I mean, second movie is awful. Second book is unreadable.
Well, it was a cash grab. In every sense of the word, it was a cash grab. Even Spielberg didn't even look like he wanted to be there. So getting back to Rain Man, though, in terms of, we're talking about this as a Best Picture winner. It's a light year. I feel like there was a lot of love that was spread around. There were a lot of movies here that could have very well made a 10, maybe even should have made that, at 5 over a couple of the movies. It's an interesting blend of movies too. And again, I still think that had it not been for Dustin Hoffman's performance, then maybe Dangerous Liaison sneaks in, and that's your thing. But this is, in my opinion, the entire production is buoyed off of Dustin Hoffman.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Even Barry Levinson, I don't feel did anything that was like super spectacular. He held the ship together.
I mean, the movie, like I said, the movie is fine. The movie is good, but you take Dustin Hoffman out of the movie, and this is not a good movie at all.
Yeah, it's a serviceable movie. It's something I'd watch on Netflix.
Yeah, until he comes in, it's like, oh, it's all right, fine, whatever. As soon as he comes in, okay, now I can really start getting into the movie.
Right.
Oh, actually, you know what? There was one time before the last 10 minutes or so that I actually did feel sympathy for
Charlie. Yeah.
When the doctor's offering him money to walk away.
Oh yeah.
And he says, like, why didn't anybody even tell me I had a brother? I'm like, okay, so you see, that is good. That is a valid reason.
Right, exactly. He was mad the entire time, and it's just really interesting. I mean, it's also interesting just how it ends.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's really where you could have ended it. You're not going to like cut back 2 weeks later and he goes to visit Ray at the at the home.
He probably never did. 9.
I mean, overall, I think this is a fine movie. It's definitely a product of its time.
Yeah.
I
do like the fact that, like, when he brings him to that little second-rate doctor in the little town.
Oh yeah.
He was like, autism, never even heard of it.
Yeah, he's artistic. Well, and that was the thing too. That was a big thing, and again, that's what kind of captured the imagination a bit, that people were finally able to diagnose what high functioning autism is. And it really, I mean, this movie isn't offensive at all. It's not a bad movie at all. It lives in a time that doesn't exist anymore. It's a 35-year-old movie.
Yeah.
So,
but hey, he had that really modern and up-to-date phone in his car.
Oh my God! What was even worse was that Watchman, the Sony Watchman, the portable TV.
Oh yeah.
My God, I'm shocked that they weren't dragging the trunk of the car with the amount of D batteries you'd have to use to power that thing up. Yeah, definitely a lot of batteries. 60 diesel batteries.
Yeah, 10
hours in standby mode. Yeah, 1 hour. 1 hour of viewing time. Yeah.
He's lucky to get through an entire episode of Wapner.
Oh my God, seriously. And you thought that the Atari Lynx had issues.
Which I had. Oh, wait, no, I didn't have the Lynx. I had the Sega Game Gear.
Okay. I remember the Atari Lynx came out first. And the Atari Lynx ran on I see your D-cell batteries. And you had to have guns to be able to lift that fucking thing up. Oh my God. But hey, lefties could play it because you could switch the controls. I'm like, listen, I the only reason why I'm so right with my left hand is because I didn't go to Catholic school and the nuns didn't beat it out of me. So, but yeah. So anyway, that is Rain Man, and that is our best picture. Look back and seen. I am next week, by the way, for best picture nominees for this year. I'm gonna feast. Poor Things is coming out on Hulu on the 7th. American Fiction comes out on MGM Plus on the 8th. Those are the top 2 Best Picture nominees I haven't seen yet that I really, really want to see.
I've vaguely heard of Poor Things. This is literally the first time I'm hearing about the
All right. American Fiction. I'm actually reading the book that American Fiction is based on right now, which is called Erasure. Take a look at the trailer for it. On YouTube, and Jeffrey Wright is so just based on the trailer alone. I'm sold on Jeffrey Wright.
Yeah, right now I'm just watching my way through Shogun. So
gotcha. Yep, did that last night.
I love that. Is such a great show.
We can talk about that off air because I agree.
Yeah,
I wholeheartedly agree with that.
Of course,
so
that's also one of my favorite books of all time. So
okay, yeah, I tried reading the book. It was a little too dense for me, but Autumn read it while she was home, nursing our daughter, in the first few months. So it was paperback. She was just doing this the entire time.
Oh yeah,
but
right up there.
Yeah. So we can talk about that off air. But
yes,
we want to know now. What's that?
No, nothing.
All right. We want to know, what are your thoughts on Rain Man? Did you think it deserved to win Best Picture that year? Or was there another pick? Of the nominees, we're all going to go with Roger Rabbit. We absolutely are all going to go with Roger Rabbit there.
Yeah.
Out of the 5 nominees I listed earlier, do you think Rain Man deserved to win? Leave a polite comment below. If this is your first time to the channel, hey, hit that subscribe button because we do this every week. We have a new topic coming up next month, which we'll talk about in just a second, or maybe I won't. It's a mystery. And just give us a like here on the video because it does help us in the algorithm. Mike and I also host a podcast called Geek Salad. You can check that out wherever you get your podcasts. So Spotify, iTunes, YouTube podcasts, and until April 2nd, Google Podcasts. So you can check us out there wherever you get your podcasts. You can also get the full audio feed here on YouTube as well if you just prefer to stay on YouTube. We are also on the socials at Geek Salad Podcast on Facebook and at Geek Salad Radio on Twitter, on Blue Sky, and on Threads. I think that's about it.
Good job.
Don't ask me to rattle off baseball statistics now, or how many matches are in a box that you just dropped.
Who's on first though?
Man. But anyway, until next time, I'm Andy.
I'm Mike.
Go forth and be nerdful. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.